Hello, everyone. And as you know, my name is Zenzi Sewa, and I'm in here with Spiritual Infinity. And my guest today is Sadia Hameed. And Sadia is in Washington, and she says the weather's getting cooler as it is all over the world because we are in autumn and we're facing winter. And Sadia is head of Living Her Light. She has an organization called Living Her Light, and she's a woman transformational and spiritual coach. And in this time, we do need these kinds of help because we're living in a time of humanity where a lot of us are awakening. Some of us are already awake, some of us are still asleep, and that's fine. Some of us are going through things and we don't know. Are we going mad? Are we something abnormal? Are we not worthy? And it's nothing to do with that. And we have people around us sometimes who don't understand because they're sleeping. And so my program, as you know, are there to reach out and hopefully help you along your journey to connect with people who you feel can help you to develop, to connect to your spirituality and be your authentic self. So without much ado, I'll introduce you to Sadia. Welcome to Spiritual Infinity.
Thank you so much for having me, Zenzi. It's my pleasure to be here.
No, thank you. And you're going to share with us your spiritual journey, what you went through, how you overcame it, and what you're doing today. And I know you're doing quite a few things, and share it with us all so others can connect with you and you can help them through their journey. But for now, let's hear your story.
Thank you so much. So let me start at the beginning from when I was a young girl. I always had this burning fire inside me. I had this belief that I was here to do something special. I had these dreams of how one day I would create a legacy that would be remembered. But I was surrounded by a lot of messages that told me the opposite, what it meant to be a young girl growing up in society, what my role was, what my place was, how to perform, how to succeed. And I remember always feeling like a bit of a wrestling match inside me because there's a part of me that wanted to be wild and expressed and free. There's also a part of me that wanted to belong and to succeed and to be accepted. And I found that as the years went on, I adapted myself to fit that mold, to fit those measurements and performance metrics that I never co-created for myself in order to live up to expectations that someone else set for me and to try to be that good, well-groomed girl that would grow up and find her rightful place in the world. But the truth is that I've always been a bit rough around the edges, and I've always had a bit of a wild spirit. Now I call her Wildflowers and Thunder. That is who I actually am in the heart and soul of myself, right? So I embarked as this, young independent woman, wanted to at least break out of some of the societal molds I had grown up in South Asia, where I wanted to be independent. I wanted to work. I wanted to have a career. My parents were supportive of that. I'm very grateful to them for that. But I embarked with this desire to prove myself, keep proving myself to the world. And so I did. I worked hard. I worked at a number of very well-known organizations. I succeeded. I elevated. I grew. Eventually along the way, I got married. I have two beautiful children that I currently raise on my own. And all through it, I found myself just wondering, is this really all there is? Do I get to ever walk into a room and just be fully expressed as myself? I was always thinking about how to stay in the room, which meant, what do I say? How do I mold myself? And I lived my entire professional life at the convenience of others. It was my job to make everyone else around me comfortable so that my voice could be at that table and my thoughts could be heard. And I worked for 25 years in the nonprofit, social justice, and philanthropic sectors. And I found that there was this part of me that was trying so hard to change the world around me that it's almost like I was chasing after trauma. I encountered I encountered my own during my own youth and upbringing. And then I almost like I was chasing after it. I worked in conflict zones. I worked on some of the most dire issues facing humanity right now. And I went deeper and deeper, and I yearned longer and longer for it. And I built a beautiful life, by all accounts. I have the resume. I have, everything that you could want to show the outside world. But there was something inside me that wasn't fulfilled. There was something inside me that was screaming for her voice. And then there was another part of me that was really afraid of not belonging anymore, of perhaps letting go of the illusion of everything that I had created if I was really true and honest to myself. And when my daughter was very young and I was pregnant with my son, our family got hit by a tragedy. And so I ended up being a solo mom of two. And as I looked at my kids, I realized that I had only two choices. The first choice was that I could just continue the patterns that I had inherited. I could keep going through the generational cycles. I could live my maternal lineage the way it was handed down to me. And I could raise these children in those patterns and just hope that they would have the will and the ability to survive it all, including all of the pain that I knew would come to them because I held that pain as memory in my body, in my cells. Or the second choice, I could choose to be the last in my lineage that would ever carry that suffering in her bones. And I could set them free.
Yeah.
And that requires courage. That requires facing every part of yourself, the shadow and the light. That requires a radical journey into a devotion to oneself that I was never taught, and a forgiveness and an integration. And I built my whole life from pain, from the pain I was carrying around with me. And I stopped one day and I asked myself, it was during the COVID-19 pandemic, and I thought, Sadia, look at everything you've created and everything you've overcome. It's extraordinary. But it's from pain, it's from survival, it's from holding on, it's from fighting and proving and struggling. What happens, my love, if you start to create it from joy instead? What happens if you let that soul inside you, that wild self, come out and start to express herself? What happens if you give your children permission to be everything that they are and more because they saw you do it too? And there's all the scary voices, right, that tell you everything you can lose and everything that can go wrong. But there's that one glimmer inside you that says, what if it's beautiful? What if it's magical? What if it's everything you've ever dreamed of in your life? And in that moment, during the pandemic, trying to keep myself and my two children safe, right? Proverbially safe, I realized I'd never, ever felt safe in my life, ever, anywhere. And I understood fundamentally that that's because I had never actually found home in my body. I had never been safe in my body. I was very smart. I was intelligent, successful, deeply spiritual. I could transcend and go out into the cosmos anytime I wanted to, but I was not safely grounded and embodied in my body. So I was always having the split experience, the experience of the largest part of me, and then the experience of a very small part of me that was allowing herself to actually live and be expressed in her body and out into this world. And that's really when things started to shift for me, because I made a decision that I wanted to be able to feel safe in myself, no matter what was happening in the world around me, because certain things are going to happen and we just can't control it. And
That's
we're
right.
not meant to.
No.
But we get to experience it with this deep sense of trust and certainty where you feel like, hey, I got this because I got me.
Yeah.
And if I got me, then I'm going to be good. And I don't know how it's going to turn out well, but I know that it's going to be okay at the very least. And that is the transformation that I now bring to all of the women that I work with. This true, deep, certain, trusting feeling in your body. And I realized I had anxiety and panic attacks and high stress for a large part of my adult life. And I remember thinking to myself that it felt almost impossible to get to this state of feeling calm or aligned or trusting in myself if my body was always vibrating in this frenetic energy, like in brace mode, right? Always wondering when the penny is going to drop, what's going to hit you next, preparing, surviving, planning. And I thought, what would it feel like to just breathe in my body? What would it feel like to actually relax and calm my body? And I started to learn a lot about my nervous system just by going to courses and studying with mentors and doing a lot of it myself.
Mm.
And I realized that I was so disconnected from my intuition and my deepest wisdom and knowing because my body was in this survival mode that completely disrupted my ability to ever feel centered or aligned. So I was performing very, very high functioning, but very high functioning in complete survival mode. And ultimately it led to burnout. It led to such deep fatigue and exhaustion, and just this sense of like everything in life felt heavy and hard. And sure, I could make it, but I was tired of just making it. I was tired of struggling through it. I wanted to feel really great while I was doing it all. I wanted to see my ability to raise my kids on my own as a privilege and a gift that I get to do, but I wanted it to feel that way. I wanted to feel supported and spacious as I did it. And I realized that all of that comes down to me. Like, I can't tell you how much personal development I chased and how many courses I paid and how many amazing mentors I've worked with, and I love them all. But nothing ever landed until I landed back home in myself. And that was the moment when everything started to change. And then it changed really, really quickly. And so now I understand what alignment feels like. I understand what it means to like wake up and breathe in your body. I understand what it feels like to really trust myself.
I'd like to stop you there because you said nothing, you paid for so many courses, you did so much, but nothing worked until you landed back within you. What made you land back within you? Because it was that awakening, that I think that reality that everything is within.
Mm-hmm.
What did that happen?
Absolutely. Well, there was this moment where I realized that I just needed to take radical responsibility for myself and my life. Those fairy tales that I grew up in my generation listening to, where some white knight comes on a horse and rescues you and like takes you to a palace and gives you this nice life, right? It wasn't really what I was signing up for, and so that meant it was me. And then I realized that I had looked at the world from a lens of victimhood for a long time because I had experienced, like many other women, like many unpleasant and quite terrible things, and felt as though we were always trying to fit someone else's standards. And so there was so much noise clouding everything that I believed about myself and everything I believed about the world. But that put me in this vibration as though I was powerless, as though everything was happening to me. And the moment that I decided that life was happening for me instead of to me, and I realized if I have the power to create every experience in my life, and let's say that there is this version of me that had all these beliefs and she created this version of life that was quite painful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wow, how powerful am I? Because that same me can create the life that is beautiful and full of joy too. I have to take radical responsibility for myself, come back into the full power and sovereignty of who I am. And that starts with taking responsibility for slowing down enough to allow myself to start feeling safe in my body, to start feeling good, to start hearing that intuition and trusting it instead of the noise, to take one step at a time every single day in the direction of where I wanted to go. Because the truth is, there's no plan B. I am the only plan for me and my kids. There's no backup plan. I am the plan. And so if I am the plan, isn't it time for that plan to just be able to be fantastic?
Yeah.
Instead of having to be the plan that just made it, almost made it. Oh my gosh, thank goodness I survived. Like, I just didn't want that anymore. And I stepped out of my entire career and my profession of 25 years as a part of this journey home to myself, because I also realized that if I stayed in an entire narrative, right, of work that was all around the pain that was being done by somebody to somebody else, that it was going to be really hard for me to rise into the power of my own self. And I'm not saying everyone needs to do that. I'm just saying that was a personal part of my journey where I thought, I'm going to step away from the pain of the world for a moment so that I can actually mend the pain that's inside me. And when I do that, the service I will be able to bring to people will be something that will be so much deeper and so much more transformative, because we'll actually start living the lives we dream of and that
Yeah.
we most want. And when we are our happiest selves, like really in the vibration of joy, it doesn't mean that tough things don't happen. It doesn't mean that we don't experience human life. We do, but we're not shaken by it. We're not thrown off course. We're able to so much more steadily guide ourselves forward. And as women, that means we're guiding our families. That means we're
Yeah.
guiding our children. It means we're guiding our communities.
Yes.
And that is really powerful.
It is. And and thank you so much for saying that, because as you said, it's not about avoiding situations. When we step into our own power, when we step into and remember who we really are, it means that any challenge that we're faced with, we don't run away. We have the knowledge, and we have the faith, and we have an inner knowing that we can overcome it. We can face it, and we can transcend it, and we can turn it around. And that is about stepping into your own power and understanding who you are. When you get to that place, it's wonderful. As you said, it doesn't mean you don't get challenges. Challenges are still there. That's part of life, because we're going through life. We're living in this human world where things do happen, but we don't shun it. We stand firm and know we can overcome it.
We learn that we are truly capable, that everything we need, all of the deep, deep resource we need, that resilience is already within us. And when we learn to live from it, then we're able to gather all the other information we need. We're
Yes.
able to seek out the resources and the partnerships and the collaborations we need. We're able to seek out the right teachers and guides for us. It's not that we suddenly exist in isolation, but it's that we start drawing and magnetizing to us those things that actually allow us to continue to blossom into the fullness of who we are, and who give us permission and witness the sacred truth of what that is, rather than trying to push us back into those silos or those boxes that we've been stuck in for most of our lives.
Yes. Yes. And as you said, you grew up in a society that says you're a woman, this is your place, this is what you do, this is how you should be. The rebel in you said, no, I want more than that. And that was talking within you. And you fought for it and really struggled. And there's so many women around the world, because society tells us, puts women in a certain perspective, and how we should present ourselves, and how we should behave, and what we should do, and how we should be lesser than, and just this thing. There's so much more to us than that. And we really have to stand up and say, no, this is who I am. This is the respect that I deserve. And I will fight for it, because I have that power within. And I can hear that from you much. You've really gone through.
Well, one of the most important lessons I learned, because I spent my whole life looking for validation outside of myself. So one of the most ironic things I think about human life is that we are actually these super powerful beings who have all of this magic coded within us. But when we're born, we're completely helpless. We're reliant on the people around us to meet every basic need. And as we grow older, there isn't anyone who at a good time comes and taps us on the shoulder and says, hey, guess what? You have complete free choice and free will now. And you can come into your sovereignty. You can come into the fullness of yourself. So the most important lesson I learned was I spent my whole life wanting to be approved of by other people, because I believe that that was the measure of whether I was loved or if I belonged or if I was worthy.
Mm.
But all the time, I was suppressing a part of myself. And so the truth is, my relationship with myself was quite terrible. I had abandoned and betrayed myself so many times in order to fit in and in order to succeed in the world around me. And the
Mhm.
most important lesson I learned was that all the love and accolades and validation in the whole world from everybody else does not matter if you don't actually completely love and accept yourself. The most
That's
important relationship and love affair we will ever have in our life is actually with ourselves. And when we come home to that, then it's like some people will love you and others don't care much for you, and it's okay. There's
yeah,
a freedom in knowing that that's perfectly fine. And we all still get to be happy and succeed anyways.
yeah. It's not looking for validation from anybody. When you love yourself, when you understand yourself, when you know that everything is within, you don't look for validation from anybody. You get up and you do, knowing that you are capable, knowing that you're very capable. You're capable because of who you are and who created you with this power. Nobody can take it away. Once it's given and done and you're created, it can never cease. It's for all
The only
eternity.
way it gets You're right. The only way it gets taken away is when we hand it over to other people, which is something that many of us do. I know I did it for a very long time. And in order to take all that power back, I realized I had to reintegrate so many parts of me, the parts of me that had been shamed, the parts of me that felt guilty, the parts of me that had been told off. All of those versions of me were scattered out there and they were waiting for
Mhm.
me to come with love and forgiveness and say, you know what? You are part of me.
Mhm.
And I integrate you. And even if I choose not to live from that version of me, that
Yes,
doesn't mean she doesn't belong with me. That
that's
doesn't mean that she won't be loved and
yes.
accepted. And so often we hide from our own shadow and we run from it. And in fact, we suppress it down. And then it comes out as anxiety and stress. It comes out in fragmented and difficult relationships. It comes mirrored back to us through our children. It comes out in health effects that we end up experiencing in our body and in our lives. Because the truth is that that energy just can't live within our body. Like we cannot hold that in ourselves and then also have wonderful health and good relationships and, stay in an aligned state of being. So the best gift we can give to ourselves is integration, because
Yes.
in that integration, we release all of the old imprints, literally from our cellular system, from our DNA, and we create the space to welcome in that awakening and go back to the truth of who we are and come back into this wonderful sense of completeness within themselves. And then you realize you were never broken at all. You were
No.
just walking around in a fog and you didn't know how to find your way. But when that fog lifts, the clarity that comes is just astonishing. It's really beautiful.
You said something prior, and you said going through what you went through, you decided that you wanted to stop this in your family, that no other generation will go through what you're going through. And that to me was so powerful, because we sometimes we don't realize that we have the power to do that. When we stand up and change, and we make that decision, we're actually changing that karma within our family, especially in the female side or whatever, that is happening, that we say, no, this is not going to happen again. Because you stand up and give others permission to stand up as well, and to know that, no, I can do this.
Well, and after years and years of personal development and healing, I would say it was probably it was recent. It was like maybe around 8 or 9 months ago when I had this moment where I looked at each of my children And I realized that they were at the exact age I was when I remember starting some of the most painful times of my life. When I first learned shame and embodied it, when I first felt guilty, when I first started my earliest addictions, which for me through my life was food. It wasn't drugs or alcohol. It was food. And then the guilt and shame that creates. And I remembered how many things I cheated myself out of because I didn't believe I had the power to change it. So I took the easiest course,
Yeah.
right, available to me with my survival programming running as a child. And at the time, when I think back to my 10-year-old self, I felt powerless. Like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to guide myself. But when I look at my 10-year-old, I find myself as their mother saying to them often, hey, you have free choice here. Like you get to decide too. Like we're co-creating this together. You
Yeah.
get to take responsibility. You get to say how you want it to be. And in those moments, I realized that that was true for my 10-year-old self too. I just didn't know it.
That's right.
I didn't know it. I wasn't awake to it. I was asleep to it. But in that moment, I also realized that, again, I could keep repeating the pattern I was still looping in, which was my childhood survival program. And in that case, I wasn't really going to guide my two children to very much more than perhaps the best version of myself at that moment, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes.
Or I could wake up and actually become the parent that I wanted, but also that I know my children deserve. And then that's a sovereignty of self, right? That's radical responsibility for myself. And
Yes.
that they are my reason why, but I'm also my reason why. Like I get to matter too. And when you start seeing that as something that is like a gift, a possibility, it becomes exciting. It becomes something you really want to do instead of feeling like, oh, I have to do that. You feel like, oh my gosh, I get to wake up every day and do this. And I'm going to find out how great it gets to be for myself and for them.
You're so right. Because by going backwards and seeing that, well, this is what I want through, I don't want this for this generation. You need to stand up and change that pattern. And it is you that has to change that pattern, not only in yourself and the way you think, but the way you also treat your children. So you help them to be strong and to have that choice and to have that thought of knowing that that power's within them, because now you can give that to them. And that is so wonderful. And it is our duty. It is our duty. And it is what we have to do for this generation, not just for ourselves, but for the generation coming. We have to be the example for them.
Well, and I realized in that moment, I realized what it really means to hand down generational patterns.
Yeah.
Because I thought to myself, I can tell them everything, but if I'm not doing it, then who am I to actually say anything, right? Like I'm not modeling it for them. I'm not changing my behavior. So I'm saying things to them, but my example is showing proof of everything that I inherited and I learned. And it was so humbling because I realized that even though in my mind, intellectually, I had spent my whole life trying to change those patterns, I hadn't actually metabolized them from my cellular memory in my body, which meant that my body was still living an inherited truth.
Yes.
And no matter how much my mind was trying to change that truth, there was a disconnect there.
Yes.
And this is why I've done so much mindset work. I've worked with beautiful mentors, but I realize now that the mindset work can't do anything, and it can't, like those affirmations, that positive thinking, that shift in thinking, it can't get you into that reality if your body is saying no.
Yeah.
And your body is remembering everything that that got instilled in it before you were 3 years old. And in fact, anything you might have inherited through your time in the womb and that came down your ancestry. So there is this process of actually letting it go from your body so that you can create the space for your body and your mind to come together and be in service of your soul. And that's the truth that we're awakening to. But the body is how we live this life. It is how we have every single experience we have. And the nervous system is like the electromagnetic signals that tell our body how we're engaging with our environment. And then our mind gets involved, and that's how we remember things. But the mind can only create what it remembers. And the memory of that lives in our body. And a lot of that is trauma-based.
Cellular.
So you can't positively talk your way out of trauma. You got to actually find the release of it and let it go, so that then you can pick something new.
Yes, because that trauma is at a cellular level and it's encoded in there, and we have to go in and decode it, those level and let it go. Otherwise, we're in a way, we're knocking our head against the wall. It's harder work.
It is hard. It feels hard. That's why personal transformation feels really difficult sometimes. And people are like, I don't want to go back and relive all that trauma. And it's like, oh, you don't have to. And that process of releasing and recoding is exactly what I do with the women I support. Like, that is the actual process. We go through a release, recode, reclaim process. And we do it through 3 stages of coming into devotion to yourself, full reintegration of yourself, and then stepping into the sovereignty of yourself. And it's rapid. When a woman is ready to say yes to herself, like I was, I came to a point where money didn't matter, time didn't matter, nothing mattered. I wanted me more than I wanted anything else in the world. So when someone comes to that point where they know that they're really ready, it happens very quickly and it feels better very fast, because the permission that we're waiting for is our own permission.
That's it. Yes. And you're so right. You've got to be ready. And this is what I say to so many people, and my guests say the same thing. There are those who you can talk to, then so forget it. There are those who are awakening and their eyes are opening and they have that need and that want. That is when you're ready to take that step. And as you said, we have to do the work. As you said earlier, it doesn't matter how much people praise you, doesn't matter what people say, doesn't matter how much love they want to give you. If you're not ready to be that praise, that love, and accept it and feel that you're worthy of that, it's a waste of time. It has to start from within. You've got to be ready. You've got to be willing and be willing to believe and do the work and say, I'm ready, and take that step. You're so right. You're so right. So the work you do with the women, do you do it in groups? Do you do it in retreats? How do you go about it?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to share that. So yes, I run group cohorts. I'm actually in the process of enrolling my winter cohort right now, which is meant to start in mid-December. And a lot of people ask me why I do that. And I say, because the holiday season is a time when women are always giving to everyone else. They're holding their family together. And coming into the cohort is a gift they give themselves, because they walk into the new year already starting to release and shed so much we're talking about. And by the time we get to Valentine's Day, they give themselves the biggest love gift, which is this beautiful, clear, happy version of themselves. So I do run group cohorts. I also do one-on-one work if there are women who are going through a very particular experience, or there is a specific trauma that they want to move and work through. I offer the opportunity to work with me one-on-one. And I also do leadership packages for women who are in executive careers or running their businesses, where they want not just the personal transformation in life, but they also want strategic help and support on the leadership and the business front as well. So those are all available on my website. And as I'm building the community, my hope is to keep people there in perpetuity. So come through a program and a coaching session, but it doesn't end there. to keep this community going, because through every single season that we live as women, we're going to want to come back to that loving support that activates us, that reminds us, where we get to witness each other and to move into the integration and the becoming. So releasing and shifting is one thing, but anchoring that into your body until it becomes habit and second nature, and you're doing it every single day, is something that takes time. And it's really helpful when you get to do that alongside other people as well, who are there to support you. And the most wonderful thing about this is just being able to say those things out loud to somebody that you don't want to say to anybody else, because you think that you might get judged. They might think that you're less than. They might suddenly think you're not capable of anything you did. And in these spaces, and particularly in my programs, like there's none of that. Like, I know that you are a beautiful, competent, magical, limitless woman, even if you shouted at your kids this morning, even if you're stuck in a marriage that you secretly don't love, even if you have a team that you feel like you're carrying on your shoulders, right? Even if, right? Even if your body is fighting against you because you're going through perimenopause or menopause, all of those things are part of the human experience, and they have absolutely nothing to do with our capability, our magic, or our limitlessness. And that's the fog that we get to walk through together. And it's just really lovely.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so you have these courses going on. Have you written any books? How do people connect with you directly?
Sure. They can find me on Instagram. On Instagram, Sadia _ Living Her Light. They can find me through my website, which is livingherlight.com with hyphens in between. I'm happy to share that information with you as well. I have a number of books in me that I haven't written yet, but stay posted. I'm sure that they'll come pouring out of me quite soon. I think I'm just trying to figure out which one I write first. But yes, I am available through my site. My email is on there. I'm on social media, and I'd be delighted to hear from anyone who wants to reach out. I offer a complimentary alignment calls with anyone who's getting to know me for a first time, so they can hop in, just get on my calendar straight through my website, book in a 45-minute call, and we can talk about what it is that they're experiencing and whether I might be the right person to come and lend some light to their life.
Wonderful. Sadia, before I say thank you and let you go, I always ask my guests if they can leave us with a nugget or two or three of something of wisdom that you can share with our viewers who are looking, who are going through things, and who need some kind of encouragement. What would you say to them?
Absolutely. I would say that in those moments when it feels really hard, when you're feeling really stuck, when there's something inside of you that's longing and aching, when you're so tired, when you're frustrated and you're fed up, I want you to know that it's not your fault, that you didn't create that. You didn't bring it upon yourself. Karma doesn't hate you. There is just a reality that so many of us at a really young age absorbed a lot of things that took us away from the truth of who we are. And so the most wonderful thing to know is that she's in there and she's waiting for you. And when you are ready to open up to her, she is going to embrace you with open arms and love you in a way that you will remember and cherish for the rest of your life. And that is the truth of who you are.
Oh, wonderful. Lovely. Sadia Hameed, thank you so much. That's a lovely word of encouragement. And to all my viewers who've been here today, I hope and I know you've got some nuggets, and I'm going to say a nugget, you've got nuggets of encouragement. And Sadia's already said how you can get hold of her. I will put it up in the write-up as well. And remember that everything lies within, and we have the power to recreate and change things around us. It's okay, because we grew up programmed, other people's thoughts, societies, everything. But now there's a stirring within, know that it can be changed. So for everybody, From here in London, bye for now. From Sadia in Washington, thank you so much.
You.
Everybody, have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you and goodbye.